Hello, everyone. We are in the great city of Atlanta, Georgia. My name is Meg Garrido. I have, as always, my business partner, Lauren Skudowitz, and
Hi.
our fabulous managing broker. This is Brian Maguire here at Compass. All right, so let's give the people what they want to hear. Let's talk numbers. Let's talk data. Let's talk Atlanta.
Is that what they want to hear?
That's what the people need.
Well, first, thank you for having me again. I'm honored to not only be invited the first time a few months ago, but the second time. Also want to thank you, wish you a happy belated birthday, Meg. So I know this is maybe not an evergreen video that's going to be around forever, but it was your birthday. Fellow Libra, because it was my birthday last week.
Yes,
And,
Libras unite. So,
and just quick question for you both. Is there any other real estate agents that are going to see this video, you think? Is it possible? Maybe?
Possibly.
Right. I know I said last time I don't have many favorites around the office because in my role I have to be very neutral and I'm kind of like Switzerland. But on my birthday, something arrived on my desk, so I figured, why not when I'm coming on to the video?
Yes.
Let me do the swag.
I love it.
You should see the looks I'm getting out of my door already. But
oh, donning the shirt. Come on. I love it. Thank you.
I'm either going to have some very upset people or a lot of new T-shirts from various agents this week.
Yes.
Just reject them all.
Hopefully.
Don't you love the material?
So soft.
So yes.
Just
So
like
soft.
a warm baby blanket on your body.
I was seriously like, this is like pajama worthy, like I don't want to, I'm going to wear it out, but man, this is comfy. You got to say.
We love it. Thank you. You're
Sure.
so good. So Lauren, reel us in. What are we talking about today?
Okay, so we are going to talk about data related to both buyers and sellers. First, we're going to talk about sellers, and Brian's prepared some juicy slides to support his commentary. So a couple of things that we're going to discuss. Demand is still here, but inventory is not. Average sales price, where it's gone from the beginning of 2019 to today. Days on market and how we've seen that drastically decline over the last 2 years. And then why pricing is still key, especially in today's market where we're seeing some buyer fatigue after the summer buying season. So let's start with demand.
I'm going to, so I put a couple of quick slides. I'm not a graphic artist or a data gatherer necessarily, but I did pull a couple after our quick email conversation. So this morning I pulled a couple of slides. I'm going to, it's okay, share my screen and let's see if this works for us.
Can't wait to see all this juicy data.
Juicy. Get your bibs on. It's
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
all right. So this is what I did was instead of going back, which normally we go back maybe 3 months or even a year's time. And can you see my screen okay? Just making sure it's showing up. I went back all the way to January 2019 just to kind of look at a trend because that was 2020 is just an odd year. Pandemic aside, the market had a couple of bumps in it just because of how things were going, coming out of, are we in a pandemic? Are we not? So we didn't really know what was going to happen in March of 2020 with the market, which is normally the height of our bubbling spring market here in Atlanta. So I'm going to skip to the next slide because the numbers, a little bit more specifics. And this is active listings from 2019 to basically year to date. And let's see if I could. Okay, so if you see, what I thought was pretty telling, even if you look at March, let's say March of 2019 and March of 2020, which is right when we started getting into the lockdown mode here in Atlanta, pretty consistent, maybe a little bit less inventory active listings in March, but from 2,500 to 2,450 in March. But look at what happened in 2021, half the amount of listings in the height of what is going to be, usually our busy season. If you look historically for 2019, March, April, all the way up to in the 2800s, which carried through to the summer. and into September and into October, and then kind of tapered a little bit, which normally happens around this time of year. Even if we, look at what happened in 2020, what happened for 2021 is most interesting, because that's the current market that we're in. And obviously we're looking in a rearview mirror right now as to what happened, but we were in literally half the amount of active listings and this is city of Atlanta as a whole. This is not a specific zip code or the geography is just the city of Atlanta. Certainly we can drill down on neighborhoods, and Megan Lauren can get you your viewers specifics of their actual neighborhood, but this is city of Atlanta as a whole, which we thought was a good cross section for high-end luxury as well as the average bread and butter home. March down to April, still in the hovering around less than 1,300. A little bump over the summer with inventory, but still far lower than what we were experiencing in 2019 and 2020 by about 1,000, if not better. Very, very telling information here for active.
Yeah, you can see it start tapering in 2020 once we get to December, and then 2021 from the rip in January, 1,305. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. We had also, don't forget, election year last year, on top of all the stuff that happened, turmoil in the country, the pandemic, a very interesting election year with the president's election. And then we didn't have a clear line in the sand right after election day, where normally we have a declared winner. So the whole election season kind of went on till Inauguration Day, right around January 20th, 2021, which does kind of tie into where maybe people started deciding, are we going to sell or not sell, or what's going to happen? Are we going to stay or not? So very interesting. I think, our numbers probably got skewed a little bit differently than they ever have. And hopefully we'll never get the same experience we had with 2020 ever again. But the numbers certainly reflect it.
Well, and we had a peak again this summer in July, similar to where we've had, some peaks in the summer before, but then it started tapering off again, and it's just been slowly decreasing again until October.
Sure. And possibly fueled by, people for the first time, like everybody who missed their summer vacations in 2020, perhaps was just at the point where I want to get out of town. That's probably some factor in what the listings are. All the things we're going to talk about, interest rates, et cetera, have all played into this number and fueling where it is. So maybe the little bit of an extra in the summer is because people were like, hey, I got to get out of here. I have the one shot I've had in the last 12 months, 16 months to get out of town, even because I'm allowed to go and travel. So maybe that's part of it as well.
Yeah, I think on a micro level, we both, Lauren and I, saw that. Everyone that we knew, even through, social media platforms, we saw that everyone went on vacation. It was a time that people really just wanted to get away. So it makes sense.
Sure.
So to summarize this one, for our sellers, it's time to list because there's not as much competition. It's also time to list when we go to the next slide that talks about average sales price and where we've seen that climb, fairly significantly over the last 2 years.
Sure. And again, here's the visual, same data. I did not change the area. So it's just city of Atlanta and the same time frame as well. And you can see, of course, how the bars are creeping up almost to the point where it's off the chart here, right? So if we look at the numbers again, oops, sorry. Is that the right one? Yeah. So average sale price, look where we were, even if we compare March, as our baseline of 2019, regular appreciation happening. So look at just the normal market from 2019 to 2020, because who knew what would have happened. But then look at the massive spike that happened for 2021 a year later, just based it on March. And now virtually all of 2021 is in the 600,000s for average sale price for the city of Atlanta. And this is sold price, is not listing price. This is the actual price. So very telling again, where we were in the fours. Can't really explain why we went low here in 2019, but basically in the mid fours and then creep into the high fives, then down again. Just normal cyclical things that happen throughout our market. The spring is always gangbusters here. It's a beautiful time of year. People are ready to sell in the spring typically. We may have missed a little bit of that in 2020 in the spring, but it came back blazing. And then now look at where we are with pent up demand, with lack of building construction, not only labor, but materials, very massive delays in that. So like less home building has been happening, which has also fueled our inventory issue. So here we are. We have as high as $697,000 for an average sale price for the month of June. Insane.
And now, if my math is correct, it looks like June 2021 average sales price of $697,000 as compared to 2019 at $528,000. That's a 24% jump. That's significant.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you really want to get in the nuts and bolts of it, even let's look at October, 640, right? As compared to 450 in 2019. If sellers are thinking, well, where are we going to go? That's the big question. We will find it. We have found it. We have found it for all of our buyers. So that I'm an opportunistic kind of person. If I'm seeing this kind of data and knowing what I can get out of my house right now, and maybe it's been something where I've wanted to relocate or I've wanted to downsize or I've wanted to make a change, the writing's on the wall.
And I think too, to that point, you know, some people are hesitant to list their home in late fall, early winter. But if you look at these numbers, it's very clear that you do get a bump in November, December. I think a lot of that's for people who are relocating from out of state and trying to get in before the start of the next year. It is still a really good time to sell and maximize the dollar you can get for your house.
They can also reap the reward of the homestead exemption as well if they're closing in that calendar year too. So another good point as to why some people want to close, you know, prior to just December's end.
Yeah.
And they're going to be using appraisals. The appraiser is going to be using comps from the last 6 months. So you're going to get the benefit of that spike in June if you list before December.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a tremendous amount, to your point about relocation business here. Atlanta has grown so much over the last very few years with Microsoft, Google, a lot of technology companies coming in, not even talking about Hollywood and the influence that the movie industry, film industry has had with our market, but just the tech hub alone around Atlantic Station, the Microsoft building that went up. There's so much interest in our economy here. In particular, you know, the fallout from 2020, where states that were more locked down, a lot of people en masse came to our market because a little bit more mild weather, maybe less restrictive on certain things, taxes a little bit more beneficial to them. So we've had that, and then businesses have taken notice too. So to your point, we always had a historic bump in activity at the end of the year in spite of the holidays. But now I think what's going on lately is all the corporate relo people that are coming into town, everybody who wants to get it out of the way before the end of the year for tax benefits, et cetera. This is what's happening now. So, and again, perfect opportunity with rates where they are. They are still so low. Even if they bumped up a little bit in the last couple of weeks, still in historically low.
Right.
So before we get to buyers and interest rates, will you share with us, Brian, the data on days on market?
Sure. So again, here we are, back from the 2-year mark. You'll see how it's been a steady, basically from early days of 2020 down. It's virtually been a steady decline in days on market, and the numbers show that as well. Coming out of, and what was significant in my head was coming out of the election season. So early 2021, we were in the high 30s, and then by March we're in the 20s, and May, June again. So June, we remember the last slide, we had June, the highest average sale price. Coincidentally, we had 22 days on market as the average.
Sorry, I'm still not sure.
Oops. Sorry, my phone is, my watch is talking to me. Sorry.
I mean, I think I'm looking at October right now, the month that we're in. And I'm looking at 50 days in 2019. I'm looking at 35 days in 2020. I'm looking at 23 days. That's less than half. And if you want to really ascribe value to that, you're thinking, okay, I'm holding a listing. I'm a seller. I'm going to hold my house on market for 50 days. All right. So that's almost 2 months of mortgage payments, as opposed to now less than a month. Think about it. That's pretty profound. when you're really shaking out all the numbers and costs to sell.
Absolutely. And this is, for the record too, this is multiple listing data only. So these are sale properties that have been listed on the open market and sold on the open market. This is not institutional buyers. This is not the, you know, We Buy Your Ugly House or some of the big names that are out there that buy pretty houses as well. This is open. This is what has been exposed to the consumer through the multiple listing service. So that's another. The numbers are even a little bit probably more skewed because there has been a significant uptick in the institutional buyers that come out and with very deep pockets and a nefarious agenda.
Mm-hmm. And to piggyback on Meg's point, you know, we've both had tons of clients who buy this year before they sell, only because, you know, they're nervous about selling first and not having somewhere to go. So I think these days on market should make people feel good about buying first, knowing that they're not going to have to carry 2 mortgages for more than most likely 23 days. And if you list with Meg or I, our days on market have been 10 and a half this year.
How about that? Yeah. And, you know, if you see the 2019 number, if we look at the height of the spring, let's say in 2019, so let's say April, May, we were in the 40s and then gradually crept up throughout the year back into the 50s. Look what happened for 2021. We were in the high 20s and it went down and it hasn't gone up. It kept getting lower. So usually it does, like after the summer or after the spring is over, the days on market will creep up. That did not happen. We had a very, very extended season this year, and there's no real signs of it slowing down. And I'm going to use the term slowdown. Slowdown is relative. If you were in the market as a buyer and you did not win a property in May, June, July, we understand. But that's the analogy I've been using. If you're doing 95 down the highway and you see a police car in the distance, you're going to put your brakes on a little bit. You're still going to go 65 maybe, which is still pretty fast. You're just not going 95. That's kind of where we feel the market is now. It's still very fast moving. It's just not the bonkers market it was 3 months ago. Still very, very brisk, still very, very favorable time. And with the rates where they are, it still makes a lot of sense to lock in a low cost of living now. And prices historically are going to go up. It's just what happens. Yes, there'll be ups and downs over time. But if you look back as far as 2008, historically, things are going to climb. There might be little blips on the radar, but it is over time, the new normal becomes what the market's going to bear. And there's no signs of anything changing that way.
I will touch on that really quickly too. We don't ever want to mislead sellers, and we don't want you to think, hey, time to sell, time to sell, time to sell. Look at these tiny days on market. Look at these crazy high prices that you're getting. At the end of the day, if you don't have someone in your corner advising you as to how to prepare and price your property, you will still sit on the market. Because if I'm representing a buyer, those are the ones I'm going after. They haven't prepared, they're overpriced, and I go in for the jugular. We're going to get that price we're going to get that product at a good price because these people didn't have the correct advisement as to how to hit the market. So I just want to make sure to be clear on those 2 points.
Yes, yeah. Pricing is key.
Pricing is key, and also the quality. You know, buyers that are now willing or necessitating paying in excess of what they were planning on are not doing it to get something that's going to fall down and has foundation issues or has termites or hasn't been painted or cleaned or et cetera. So they're more savvy buyer. They're willing to pay more, but they're also demanding a product that is going to be commensurate with what they're paying.
Right.
So it's not a free for all.
So if we put our buyer hats on, Brian, you've touched on both of these points, but just to shed more light on interest rates and then where we think prices are going to be next year. From a historical perspective, interest rates right now are still incredibly low, but we believe most likely they're going to creep up next year, and same with prices. I know you have a slide that references a Goldman Sachs prediction that prices are going to climb 16% in 2022. What does rising prices and rising interest rates do for our buyers and their purchasing power next year?
So I mean, Goldman Sachs is a reputable company. They're not the authority on the real estate market necessarily, where the buck stops there, but they are very credible and in the space and have a lot of investments in real estate as well. So I do value what they say. If nothing else, this is on CNN as of yesterday and most of the other major news feeds. So very interesting that their take is that the house prices are going to continue to climb. So anybody who's waiting on the fence to say, is the bottom going to fall out? No prediction that it's going to. It's still 16% might be aggressive, but like as we've seen, we've had 20+% in some of our areas too. So if you start averaging things out, 16% doesn't really sound all that outlandish as well. The reality though, today the rates are likely as low as they're going to be for the foreseeable future. And as things kind of move forward, they can't get a whole lot lower than they've been in the past. But if we're gonna be in the threes now, which is still great. I was selling real estate in early 2000s and in through the downturn where I had at one point a mortgage rate of 12% on an early home that I owned as a youngin', 12% interest rate. My house when I lived in Florida was 7.5% interest rate, and that was pretty good at the time. So we're used to 4s, 3s, now 2s. Those days may not be here forever. So logically, we don't think that's going to stay in the 3s for the eternity. So I would imagine by mid next year, we're probably going to be into the mid 3s, if not creeping up on 4s. And if that happens, is it better to lock in a low interest rate and capture that low cost of living? And then over time, as historically it's proven, values will go up over time, even if they drop down a couple of percentage points in the next year or so, which we don't really see it happening, but even in worst case scenario, over time, you're going to be paying either rent or mortgage. It's got to be something, you're going to have a housing payment. So probably better to lock in a lower rate today than to try and wait it out and play the market.
Great points.
This article, you can Google Goldman Sachs and home prices. It'll pop up everywhere today. So this just happened. This came up at 5:30 yesterday afternoon.
I love that it's a compass sign referenced. And
you could not have planned that better whatsoever. Next time it should be a Meg and Lauren Z sign, but still. And that was complete coincidence. I didn't realize it was compass until this morning because that's where.
Love it. So to recap, Lauren, where are we? Tell the people what our sticking point should be and really and truly what the general public should do to be best advised and best equipped on how to move in this market.
Yep. So to recap for our sellers, the demand is still there. It's a great time to list. Don't wait until spring. Days on market is low. Average sales price is high. The caveat is pricing is key. So make sure you align yourself with an agent who helps you prepare your property and price it right, or you'll sit on the market. For our buyers,
preparation. Got to keep going back to that. It has to be prepared. Okay, keep going.
For our buyers who are either new to the market or who experienced fatigue earlier this year, hang in there because interest rates are low and prices are expected to increase next year along with interest rates. So you'll get more bang for your buck buying now than if you wait. And to Brian's point, you're going to have a housing expense whether you rent or buy. So you might as well lock in that low interest rate now.
Double whammy. Higher interest rate, higher sales price, creeping up with the predictions that are coming from institutions like Goldman Sachs. So great data points. Okay.
I've got two things to say. One is the old real estate adage of location still is true. But Meg, your point, I think you just reset that as preparation. So love that. And secondly, am I going to get in trouble for wearing a Meg and Lauren Z shirt on a meeting? Or the agent's going to have a mutiny? Because I do represent everyone here at our wonderful brokerage. But you guys do such a great job. And I'll close with, even in a low inventory situation, I've seen you both create the inventory. That's something that not every agent does. You're proactively out there getting the inventory for your people, as opposed to waiting to see what's going to pop up on the market. Because very often when you wait to see what pops up, it's too late. So hats off to you both. I've seen you both do it. So
We've had lots of off-market deals this year.
Lots of off-market deals. And are we Wiccans? Are we wizards? We'll let you decide. Thank you, Brian. This has been so fun. Super duper informative. And I love ascribing numbers to everything that's going on because it makes it so much more tangible and real. And as always, thank you everyone for tuning in.